It's story time with Miss Tracy.
Hello, boys and girls. Today I am really excited. I have another Pete the Cat book. I love Pete the Cat. He's really funny and I really like his style. He's kind of a cool cat. And today's story is called Pete the Cat Falling for Autumn. And the author of Pete the Cat Falling for Autumn is Kimberly and James Dean. And this book also, if you notice, is not a soft book. This is a hardcover book because you can see the spine. This would be like you'd find in a library or a media center at your school. So Pete the Cat Falling for Autumn. And another special thing about this book, look at this book. This book came with stickers, fall stickers, all about Pete the Cat and his story. That's pretty neat. That's fun when books do special stuff. All right, here's our title page, Pete the Cat Falling for Autumn. All right, it is the first day of fall, and Pete the Cat is feeling blue. Do you know what it means when you feel blue? If you feel blue, it means that you're feeling kind of sad inside. I like summer better, he says. In summer, I can swim and surf and play at the beach. Maybe you just need to remind yourself of all the things you love about autumn, Mom suggests. Pete says, I'll try. Pete finds Grandma in the kitchen. She's baking delicious pumpkin pies. The whole house smells sweet and spicy. Pete loves helping Grandma bake pumpkin pie, but he loves helping eat it even more. After the baking is done, Pete picks a squat orange pumpkin from the counter and slips it into his backpack as a souvenir. Do you know what a souvenir is? A souvenir is something that you take from somewhere that you are visiting and bring it back home with you. So he's putting the pumpkin in his backpack. Next, Pete heads to the town corn maze. Pete and his friends wandered through the long, twisty paths made of tall corn stalks. The best part of the corn maze is getting lost and having to start all over again. As he leaves, Pete plucks a golden corn cob from the maze and puts it inside his backpack. Then Pete visits Grandpa, who is knitting on the porch. Grandpa helps Pete use the knitting needles to knit the yarn into cool patterns. Together, Pete and Grandpa make a long, cozy scarf for Pete to wear because it starts to get cold in the autumn time or fall time. When they're done, Pete chooses a little ball of leftover yarn and places it inside his backpack. He's getting a lot of souvenirs. Next, Pete goes to the hayride at the park. Pete, Bob, Mom, Dad, and Grandpa all pile into a wagon filled with hay. So that's like a hayride. They go on a bumpy wagon ride around the park. Woo-hoo! Pete shouts. At the end of the ride, Pete grabs a handful of sweet-smelling hay from the wagon and stuffs it into his backpack. Now he's got 4 things. He's got hay, he's got yarn, he's got a corn cob, and he's got a pumpkin. Pete heads over to the apple orchard where he and Kelly go apple picking. They eat sweet apple donuts and drink hot apple cider and fill their buckets with apples of all different shapes and sizes. Before he leaves, Pete chooses a round red apple and drops it into his backpack. Next, Pete stops by the park. He plays touch football with Bob and their friends. Pete scores a touchdown and everyone cheers. After the game, Pete grabs Bob's football and stuffs it into his backpack. It barely fit. "Bob won't mind if I borrow this," Pete says. Look at his stuffed backpack of his fall day, all things related to fall and autumn. Finally, Pete heads back home, but he stops in his front yard, which is covered in bright leaves falling from the trees. Pete helps his dad rake the leaves into big, colorful mounds. Then Pete runs and jumps into all the leaf piles. After he's done jumping, Pete picks a bunch of red and gold and orange leaves and stuffs them, you guessed, into his backpack. Pete's backpack is bursting with fall souvenirs. He can't wait to show Mom. "I love autumn," Pete says. "Wonderful," Mom says. "You know, these would make great decorations for our Thanksgiving." So Pete helps Mom fill a basket with all his mementos. They place the basket at the center of the table. "You did a great job," says Mom. "It's beautiful," says Dad. "Is that my football?" asks Bob. Just then, the doorbell rings. The Thanksgiving guests are here. All of Pete's family and friends gather around the dining room table. They tell stories and laugh at jokes while they eat. Everyone is having a great time. Pete looks around the table and smiles. He loves lots of things about autumn, but Pete knows what he loves most all year long: his family and friends. Oh, I really like how that story ended, because that was Pete saying it doesn't matter what season is, whether it's winter, spring, summer, or fall. He just loves being around his family and friends. Thanks for sharing our story today, and we'll be back next time. Bye.
Thank you for joining Storytime with Miss Tracy.